York Giants select John Michael Schmitz in the second round, a center out of Minnesota. And in the third round, they trade up and draft Jalin Hyatt, wide receiver from Tennessee. So, look, I would consider these first three picks a success. Now, we'll see, of course, how the players perform, but at the very least, in terms of position of need, the Giants definitely hit on the three biggest ones for sure. And I said going into the second round after last night, I really wanted the Giants to get an interior offensive lineman, and now they have their center. Barring something unforeseen, really injury being the biggest thing, John Michael Schmitz is very likely to be the starting center for the New York Giants. And this was a player that, look, in some mock drafts was a late first-round guy. And in the case of Jalin Hyatt, it would have been probably crazy, but he was a late first-round guy, more second-round guy. So in terms of that, and of course, sometimes the mock drafts really don't mean much at all. In most cases, they don't, but it seems like these are good value picks. And for Schmitz, it's exciting. I mean, now the offensive line, let's look at it. It's going to be Andrew Thomas and Evan Neal, and of course, Andrew Thomas is one of the best left tackles in the league. Evan Neal, look, he needs to improve upon year one, but obviously there were high hopes. You now know that John Michael Schmitz is going to be the center in all likelihood, and now the guards. Now, Glowinski is probably going to be your starting right guard, but look, I hope that if he does struggle, that there is competition there. Ben Bredesen is very likely. Now, look, Ben Bredesen could start at left guard. I think Josh Ezeudu. And again, there's variables here. There's definitely competition at guard. But I think my prediction is Ezeudu's at left guard, Glowinski's at right guard, but Ben Bredesen is really right there and might be a better option than either of those guys. Now, Ezeudu, this will be year two for him, like you have Evan Neal, so makes sense for Ezeudu, whereas Glowinski's a veteran, who they gave a decent contract to before last season. So the offensive line is it's improving. For sure. Is it a finished product? No, it's really not. But the pieces are in place, and there's certainly been draft capital that has been used upon these draft picks, except for Glowinski, on the offensive line, except for Glowinski, which of course was a free agent pickup. But excited about Schmitz. I think really, basically every Giant fan wanted Schmitz at this spot. At least most, knowing what was there. And look, he is a pure center. He did really well in the Senior Bowl. Definitely exciting. So that's the second Big Ten player that the Giants draft this year. He was named first team All-American. And really just the accolades are high for him. He was a second team All-Big Ten in 2021. He used the extra year of eligibility granted to college athletes due to the COVID pandemic and returned to Minnesota in 2022. So he's a little bit older. He just turned 24. But in this case, I think that'll serve him well. You want to have strength. You want to have man strength as an offensive lineman. And with John Michael Schmitz coming in at 6'4", 320, he definitely has that. This is an exciting pickup. This is an exciting draft pick. And so for Schmitz, no complaints there. Now, Jalin Hyatt is interesting. The Giants made a trade with the Los Angeles Rams. So they move up from pick 89 to 73. So they move 16 spots and they trade away their fourth round pick. So look, this was a legitimate big time trade. You moved up to one spot last time, it cost you a fifth and a seventh. You move up 16 spots here, it cost you a fourth. So clearly the Giants, are very high on Jalin Hyatt. Out of Tennessee, had a monster game versus Alabama where he had 207 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns in a 52-49 win, which was the first win that Tennessee had over Alabama since 2006. So, that's impressive. The fact that he did that against a big-time opponent in a big-time game is huge. Last year, 67 catches, 1,267 yards, and 15 touchdowns. Now, Tennessee doesn't really have a real offense. With Hyatt, it's all about speed. He is a speed threat, and the Giants need that. The Giants, again, they're emphasizing athleticism, speed, and explosive plays, which the Giants have really, really lacked in recent years. So that alone is exciting as far as Hyatt goes. Look, he is not someone that's really going to be penciled in as a starting wide receiver. I mean, it's in play. It's going to be very interesting competition. Let's just put it that way. Obviously, you have Waller at tight end and as well Bellinger. But wide receiver-wise, let's think about it. Paris Campbell, Darius Slayton, Isaiah Hodgins, Jalin Hyatt, Sterling Shepard. Those are the ones that come to mind immediately. But then there's other guys that are in the mix as well. Let's not forget about Jamison Crowder, who, is probably someone that is more unlikely. But again, there's a lot of players. Colin Johnson as well, who got hurt last year before the season began. Trying to think if there's anyone else that I'm missing. And I'm not including David Sills. Not including David Sills here. But let's see. It's a long list. It really, really is. So, again, while you don't have that number one wide receiver, there's a good amount of players. All right, there was also Jeff Smith, who was picked up, who had been with the Jets. So, all right, and of course, Wan'Dale Robinson. So, that's who I forgot. So, yeah, like a shit ton of competition there. I think the depth is pretty strong, but who can emerge, right? And so Jalin Hyatt is someone that could definitely make an impact this season. No doubt about that. That's the good thing about these three picks, specifically the first two. Deonte Banks, likely a starting cornerback. John Michael Schmitz, likely a starting center. And then Jalin Hyatt, he should have a pretty significant role on this team. And when you look at the speed element, and I'll talk more about the guys that we know, the returning players. Darius Slayton gave you speed, but that was about it. Look, Isaiah Hodgins, as much as we liked Isaiah Hodgins, he's not really much of a burner. But Jalin Hyatt can be kind of that, straight line guy. Think John Ross, but with hands. You know what I'm saying? John Ross was just a guy that had so much speed, but he really couldn't catch the ball. Hyatt can do that. So, is he much of a route runner? Not really. But on the outside, he can really make things tough on a defense, right? So, I like what the Giants are doing. Was it a bit of a hefty price to pay? I guess, but moving up 16 spots is no joke. That's a lot. I mean, they really, let's see, 73, that's it's about 10 picks in. It's towards the first third of that round, and the Giants were really towards the bottom, before you start considering compensatory picks. So it was a significant move up. It was a trade with the Los Angeles Rams, and they get a wide receiver, which they really needed, more so than other positions. And, it's exciting. This is because a lot of the times the Giants draft players where, wow, like last year, Wan'Dale Robinson, that was a bit of a shocker. And not to say that won't work out, but this, I think, it always feels good when Giant fans are kind of aligned, and I think that's going on. Deonte Banks, maybe not so much, and I think that there's certain question into that trade, but I think you cannot hate the pick with the position, and I think there's a lot to like with Banks. But here, Schmitz, to me, it's a no-brainer pick at 57. And then Hyatt to move up and get him. He almost certainly was not going to still be there at 89. That is almost guaranteed. So this was a situation where you knew you had to move up to get him. They get their guy. And yeah, so now that leaves the Giants with 4 more picks. No 4th round pick, right? I mean, I guess they could always trade up. But you have a 5th, a 6th, and 2 7ths. So tomorrow, I'm not expecting anything too significant. Of course, we'll see what happens, right? But I think that the heavy lifting was certainly done today. And look, Joe Schoen is definitely in like a win now sort of mode, right? These were a couple of trade ups. You also think about the Darren Waller deal where you traded away a 3rd round pick. So the Giants are definitely in a buyer's mode, and I guess as they should be. Obviously, the division's tough, but the Giants are ascending, and the Giants need they need more talent, right? Last year the coaching's in place, but the talent wasn't quite where it needed to be to really even compete with the Philadelphia Eagles. So now, the Giants are becoming better as a team, and it's great to see. So again, Banks on night 1, the cornerback from Maryland, Schmitz, the center from Minnesota in round 2, and then the trade up with the Los Angeles Rams, 16 spots up to get the wide receiver from Tennessee, Jalin Hyatt.